over 30 years, I worked with on-camera talent. I started the careers of people like Jessica Alba, America Ferrera, Rami Malek. 9 years I worked as a casting director, buying talent. 22 years I worked as a talent agent, selling talent. You know, as much of a caricature as it sounds about Hollywood, it's actually true. Those excruciating phone calls that an actor has with their agent where they want to know why they didn't get in for a part that they think they're perfect for. It goes something like this. Honey, they just want somebody who's a little bit more blue collar than you. I can be blue collar. Look, they want somebody who's actually a whole lot younger than you. I can be a whole lot younger. Hear me, please. They want somebody who is not you. I can so be not me. You see, whether we work in entertainment or any other industry, even in the hobbies that we have, we've become increasingly comfortable with a culture that encourages us to be whatever somebody else wants us to be. We live and swim in a very fluid environment of identity. And in all those years of buying and selling talent, it didn't surprise me that most people had a price. What was surprising is how shocked they were when they realized what it was. And I'm not talking about what they got paid for a job. I am talking about decisions that change the course of a life. When I was first working as a talent agent, I represented a young gal from the Midwest. At 25 years old, she finally booked her breakout role, a TV series regular that would put her on the map. She was playing a fresh-faced 18-year-old. Now, we never brought up how old she was in the casting process, and nobody asked. So everybody that was deciding on whether or not to hire her just assumed that she was around 18. And no one would have been the wiser if it wasn't for just one reporter who happened to be at her very first press junket. Just one reporter who happened to be from her hometown. One reporter who happened to know that she had given birth at 15 years old and was now the mother of a 10-year-old child. And just like that, she could feel this job slipping away from her before she ever had shot one frame. She called me from the set, completely freaked out at this press junket, told me the situation and what she had decided she was going to do. She was going to tell that reporter that she wasn't the mother of that child. She had married the father of that child, but that she had never given birth. She thought that if she wasn't the mother of a 10-year-old child, she could preserve the image that she needed for that job that she wanted so much. And there it was. She had just said it out loud. The price she'd put on her own soul. At least she had said it out loud. At least we both heard it. We heard the ricochet of it. And at least with it out there, I could speak into it, and I said, whoa, step back from that ledge, my friend. If they take this job away from you, we will find another one. But if you disavow your child, there is no coming back from that. I've felt that kind of gut-gripping fear. Haven't you? When something happens and you just completely forget everything you know about yourself and you just start reacting. This girl just needed to take a breath and remember who she was. And she did. Years later, I was working with a dancer who was crossing over into acting. At 29 years old, she was beautiful. And she had this kind of raw, innocent sensuality. I mean, from her dance background, she could pick up a cup and make it look beautiful. A role came across my desk for her. They needed a professional ballerina, when she was, and the project involved nudity and sexual situations. She and I had never had a conversation about how she felt about such material. So when I had this audition, I called her and said, hey, take a look at this and let me know how you feel about it. She really liked the role. It was kind of a beautiful project. And she said, I love this. I want to go on the audition. So off she went. A couple of days later, she got a call back. And again, I asked her, are you sure that you're okay with this material? And she said, oh my gosh, I love this role. I loved all the people I met. I'm so excited that I got the call back. And off she went. A couple days later, I got the call. She booked the role. And one more time I called her, and one more time I said, are you 100% positive that you will be okay shooting this material? And that was the very first time that she asked how I felt. I said, I want to ask you to imagine yourself the day after you've shot that scene. I want you to picture yourself standing in front of a mirror, and I want you to tell me how you feel about yourself. She said, wow, this is a great exercise. I really want to take it seriously, so let me think about it and call you back. About an hour later, the phone rang, and she said, that was an awesome exercise. I loved it. Thank you so much for asking me. I feel so great. I can see myself standing there. I'm so glad I booked this job. This is amazing. Close the deal. So I did, and off she went to work. Well, I hadn't kept track of her shooting schedule from that point forward, exactly what she was shooting each day, but I knew what she had shot the day before when my phone rang first thing one morning. She was on the other end in tears, and the first words out of her mouth were, I was wrong. I was wrong about how I'd feel about myself. I feel cheap, and I feel dirty, and I wish I'd never done it. And there it was, a day too late, the price she put on her soul. I asked her if she could just drop everything and come in and see me that day. And that morning in my office, as we talked about how she was thinking about herself now, what truly had dazed her was that she didn't know that she had that boundary in her own heart, at the essence of who she was. And now that she knew that boundary, she had already stepped past it. She felt like she was in this new place that she would be for the rest of her career, a place that she didn't want to be. She wanted a great big do-over button so that she could honor the self she had just discovered she was. But she felt like she would never get that now. That morning, I shared with her that I had come to know a God of second chances. And that seeing her sitting there in front of me, I didn't see an actress who was cheap or dirty. I saw a woman who had discovered more of herself than she knew yesterday. I saw someone who was fresh and new. And that's the actress that I was going to represent, and that's the actress that she got to be. There are always bridges back to who we are. I know this because it happens to be my story too. Oh, not the sexual nude scenes. Nobody wants to see this, do that. The part about selling out on myself before I really knew who I was. When I was 21 years old back in Denver, where I'm from, I had set up all the dominoes to be exactly what I wanted to be for the rest of my life, an actress at a professional theater company. From the time that I was 16 years old, when I fell in love with theater, I had a plan. I worked my plan. I stayed focused. I stayed in Denver. And when I was accepted into the National Theater Conservatory, the inaugural class there at the Denver Center Theater Company, I knew that I had in my hands what I wanted. Well, that is until an actor who looked just like the Marlboro Man swept into my life. This guy knocked me off my feet. He said that he loved me. He asked me to marry him and move to LA where we could support his dreams. And I did. And I did. You see, they didn't teach the Don't Marry an Actor class back in Denver. And so I just didn't know what I was getting in for. In the years after that, years that I needed to process what was an emotionally abusive marriage that ended in divorce, I often found myself going back to that juncture when I was all of 21 years old, when I knew myself so well. And I kept wondering at how easily I exchanged the reality of what I had in my hands for a fantasy that I had in my heart. What I hadn't known about myself then was that even more than wanting to be an actress, I wanted to be loved in a way that I had never been loved before. I wanted the white picket fence. I wanted a man who could hold all of the love that I had to give, and I wanted the Marlboro Man to be that guy. And I wanted that guy to find all of the deep parts of me that even I didn't know. And there it was, the price that I was willing to sell for. Faith came into my life when I was 30. After the divorce, after I was so emotionally broken that I really didn't know who I was anymore. And what I mean to say when I share that with you is that I was brought back to who I always had been, something that had always been true about me, but I just didn't know it. Brought back to a voice that said, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have called you by name, and you are mine. How I need to live in that identity every day. Sometimes I still forget, even though I pastor a church. Sometimes I still get caught in that gut-gripping fear, and I almost start reacting. Sometimes I almost put a price on myself, and then I remember who I am. We all need a bridge back to who we are. If you don't know what your bridge is, my friends, find it. You'll never know when you might need it.